what?
Underline the prompt on the BCR.
Alright. Underline the prompt. So let me get a hand to tell me. Did everybody get a chance to read the prompt? Okay, I think so. What is the prompt telling you to do, Kiana?
Explain how the actions of Mr. Brown and the performance support the thing that faculty can be dehumanizing. Huh?
Humanized.
Oh, dehumanized.
Okay, perfect, right? So that tells you this is what you have to do. What you need to do. But I'm going to circle explain because that's the first thing you're doing. So you have this prompt and you have this passage that you just read. Are you analyzing? Are you doing this? You're telling, you're explaining. So we're going to explain, right? And then it says how the actions of who? Whose actions are we looking at? Let me get a hand. Anthony.
Mr. Brown and the foreman.
Mr. Brown and the foreman. All right, so I'm going to jot it over here, but you know these two go to should have a different color. But this is who we're looking at. Right, so far, we know we're going to explain something. And then we know that there are a few characters in the passage, Sister Carrie and these people. So we're going to look at the actions of who?
Mr. Brown and the foreman.
All right, good job. Next it says to support the theme that factories can be dehumanizing and harsh. So this already tells us what? It tells us something that we might be looking for. What does it tell us, Anthony? It tells us the what?
It tells us what we talking about, like what's the main point that we're trying to get across?
Exactly. So the main idea or the theme. So it tells us that we're looking at the theme, but then it goes on to tell us exactly what the theme is, right? What's the theme, Lene? Someone help her out. Dania, what is the theme?
Factories can be dehumanizing and harsh.
Exactly that. Factories can be dehumanizing and harsh. So we know that we're going to explain something about the theme, and they don't even make you guess the theme. They tell you the theme. So what does dehumanizing and harsh mean? Based on what you've read, your context clues, what is dehumanizing, Josh?
Like a cruel place, a harsh, lack of something.
A cruel place. We have harsh again there. Lack of possibly kindness and compassion. What did you want to add, Dania?
Dehumanizing could possibly mean like anti-associating.
Anti-associating? Well, anti-social maybe you're thinking of? Well, dehumanizing means basically that it treats you as if you're not a person. So think about
like an animal.
like an animal. When the bell rang, they didn't even communicate with the people. They just rang a bell. They knew to go. That's dehumanizing. It's harsh. It's not friendly. It's not an inviting, safe, warm place.
Is that antisocial?
Antisocial means that you don't talk to people, but it's a different connotation because in the factory, they did not talk because they had work to get done. Antisocial is usually like a trait, like you don't want to talk to people. There they may have one or two, but they couldn't. They knew better, right? Anthony?
I was going to say it could be like harsh, dehumanizing. Means like it could be dehumanizing, like brainwashing you to do things that only people tell you to do.
Yep. All right. So and then our last point. So is to support your answer with at least 2 examples from the text. So how many examples from the text?
2.
Yep. At least 2 examples. And we know we're going to support. So when we find 2 examples from the text, what are we supporting?
How factories can be harsh.
Exactly, right? So our 2 examples should support the theme that factories are harsh and dehumanizing. So tonight you're gonna write your BCR, but I'll call on you 1 second, Josh. I want somebody to tell me in their own words what this prompt says. So, based on the information in the article, explain how the actions of Mr. Brown and the foreman support the theme that factories can be dehumanizing and harsh. Support your answer with at least 2 examples from the text. Alright, take a stab at it, Josh.
Oh, I was saying something different. Is this a fiction book or a non-fiction book? Because all factories are not dehumanizing and harsh.
Okay, well this is a passage, and whenever we're writing a BCR, we want to focus on the passage that they talk about. So we know you might have outside knowledge about factories, and you might know a nice factory. But in Sister Carrie, were they in a nice factory?
No.
So that's what we want to focus on. So these, I'm sorry?
That's just their rule. You can't not do that for them. If that's their rule, you have to follow the rules.
Right, but does it make you feel like you want to be there in a pleasant place?
That's your fault for what?
All right, Josh. But that's a good point because sometimes we'll have outside knowledge. Rebecca will have other knowledge about things, but be careful that you don't introduce it in and your BCR takes a whole different turn away from what the prompt asks. All right, Anthony, go ahead.
Explain.
Okay, so you're giving us your own words.
Mhm.
All right,
Explain how Mr. Brown and the foreman support the theme of factories being dehumanizing and harsh. Support your answer with 2 examples.
Okay. Kiana wants to add something.
Okay, explain how the,
It can be in 2 sentences if you need it to be.
explain how the actions of Mr. Brown and the foreman support the thing that factories can be cruel and harsh. Support your answer given 2 examples from the text.
Okay, go ahead. Daniel, last one.
Use Mr. Brown and the foreman to explain how factories can be dehumanizing and harsh using 2 examples from the text.
Perfect. You see that key, what she said is using Mr. Brown and the foreman. So focus on Miss Carey. But when you write tonight, the prompt says that the factories are dehumanizing and harsh. Check. We know that. They want us to show how Mr. Brown and the foreman show that, like Danae said. All right? So any questions? You guys know what you're doing tonight?
Yeah.
All right.